Greetings. I'm Dr. Bahia Muhammad, Assistant Professor of Criminology at Howard University in the Department of Sociology and Criminology. I am excited that you all are here for the third day of the conference. And today, the research team and myself, similar to the previous days, are going to engage in a dialogue and conversation around our research findings on specific topics. Today's topic is entitled Parenting Behind Bars, Maintaining Positive Relationship with Our Children. Oftentimes, when we talk about parental incarceration, we take it from a negative connotation. Therefore, we assume that the incarcerated parent does not parent from prison, is incapable of parenting from prison, and our preliminary findings have identified that more than 50% of the individuals that we've interviewed have parents who were parenting from behind bars. And so we're going to talk a little bit about what that looked like, because I think it's important when you're structuring your survey instrument, but also in the way that you look at your research questions for the studies that you're ultimately doing. If you assume that a parent does not parent, then what will your interviewee think about you in terms of the stigma that you're projecting onto their parents? So please remember that parental incarceration has a stigma attached to it, and that stigma can peep its head out in your interview, the way that you conduct your questions, and the way that you engage with the population. I'm going to pass it to Sydney now to talk to you a little bit more about some specifics around parenting from behind bars.
Greetings, good afternoon. I am Sydney Turner. I am a second-year master's student at Howard University. In regards to the term of parenting behind bars, we did find, as Dr. Muhammad said, that the majority of the parents who were incarcerated did maintain contact with their children. So in terms of parenting, in order to parent, you have to maintain contact with your child during incarceration, whether it be writing letters to them consistently, calling them at specific times of the day so the child knows to pick up the phone, to take that collect call, or in-person visit. So maintaining contact with the caregiver of the child during the parent's incarceration to make sure that they have the means in order to come visit. So those were the majority of the ways that they maintain contact with their children. All of the children, we asked a specific question: do you love your incarcerated parent? And if so, in what specific ways? 9 times out of 10, every single last one of them said, yes, I have unconditional love for my parent. No, I may not like the mistake that they made, which landed them in prison or jail, but I unconditionally love them. I desire to have a lifelong relationship with them. And in doing so, that parenting behind bars is what created them to say that they desire to have that lifelong relationship. So as far as some specific interviews that I did, certain ways that the parents were parenting their children, when they knew that if they were having a specific exam, they would call them, they would study with them on the phone, they would check up on them. They had multiple communications with the caregiver to say, make sure they're doing their homework, make sure that they're going to Bible study, make sure they're literally telling the caregiver what to do as a way of parenting them behind bars. So it was important that those parents were actually maintaining contact with their children during their incarceration. And they were also giving them advice. They were literally, they were called their child, asked them how their day was, just literally asking them how their day was so important. And the children appreciated that their parent took the time out to whatever was going on with their incarceration. They had maybe just seen a fight that day, but they wanted to call their child and see how their day was going. So that made their child in return, have a good day. You know, I also found that we focus on the success and resiliency of the child. But I found that having a successful or maintaining that successful, positive relationship with their child in turn resulted in the success and resiliency of that child. So being able to maintain that good relationship with their child then exceeded the success and resiliency of the children who have that incarcerated parent. I don't know if you all want to throw some other different ways that you all found that parents were parenting their children.
Yes, there was one interview that sticks out to me when we talk about parenting behind bars is there was an interviewee that said her dad knew about deadlines before she knew about deadlines. He knew absolutely everything that was going on in her life, and then also her mom, even though they weren't together. Like,
Right.
did you help your mom with this one thing that she needed help with? And she had, I think it was about 6 brothers and sisters, so there was a lot of them, and so he kept up with everybody. And
Mhm.
they also got chastised, right? Or they also got, if they got in trouble, they knew dad's gonna call because I'm in trouble. And
Mhm.
she said specifically, which also stood out to me, is like, although he basically, was very big in the streets and everything like that and had a lot of connections, she said he never had to send someone over to the house to check up on us because he knew how to do it himself. And so that
Right.
he did it even on the phone, like
Right.
she was like, we became very close. He knew everything that was going on. He knew we need to do this, do that. You're not doing that. And she was like, it seems like he had eyes and ears everywhere.
Yeah.
So they had a close relationship. And even the with other interviews that I did, it was a lot of, yes, we kept in contact. Yes, my parent, as Sydney was saying, they knew my tests that were coming up, helping me study, were there when I needed to talk to, were a support system. And that was a big thing, a very big support system that they had to push them forward in their success. And so even with the narratives, is a lot, within research, that it's negative if the parent is involved in their child's life, but in many a times it's one of the most positive things they have, or they talked about, that I love talking to my parent, I love visiting them. And I think it's really less than 5% had absolutely no contact with their parent. Most
Right.
had contact either via mail or video or phone or in person. And you can see those statistics in our little white paper, with more information about that in the program. But a lot of them did have contact with their incarcerated parents. So that needs to also be discussed within this research and this narrative, that this is important in their lives and has helped them propel themselves forward and be successful even as parents themselves.
Yeah, and I think it's really important. Thank you for that, Dr. Gatewood, and Sydney. I think it's very important that we advance our understanding of this population. Okay, now we know when we think about parental incarceration or even mass incarceration, we have this image of a Black individual, and I could even go as far as saying a Black or a brown or a colored, individual, but specifically a Black individual. And oftentimes it's just like, we assume that this is an individual that may have lived in a, poverty kind of area, low social economic status. So there's no way that you could be a good parent. And I think we need to keep racism out of our survey instruments, point blank, period. And I don't think there's any excuses for that. I think also that you got to do more research. The same way that we're dealing with Black Lives Matter movement, there's no different with this, where individuals, you have to educate yourself. It is not the job of your subject to be broken down and to be hurt and to be embarrassed because the negative things that you're thinking about their parents and the individuals they love, you are now sharing with them. And now that is entering their psyche and their brain through this interview. That is disrespectful. And, day 2 was all about that respect. And today is about responsibility. You have to be more responsible than that. It is your responsibility to do the research in terms of analyzing the theories. Yes, understand the theories, but also speak with those individuals that are directly impacted. Read about first-person narratives as it relates to this experience. I know that we are required as researchers to read peer review articles, but it also is important, not only once you understand the lay of the land from the research perspective, get down off of those from those ivory towers and step your foot in the community and engage in that dialogue with individuals. Because I don't think that it's fair or ethical as we think about IRB, the institutional review boards. I don't think that it is ethical to go and put these feelings, these negative feelings on individuals, because this is the data and the research that you're typically collecting. We need to put more care into the ways that we are going about studying this research population. In the last 5 minutes that we have, I do want to share with you that these incarcerated parents are phenomenal. Do you hear me? I'm going to say it loud for those of you, the folk that are in the back. at the end of the day, some of the parents sent money home.
I was about to say that.
Money home to their children. I mean, you're making, you know, $5 every 2 months.
Yeah.
We all know about the realities of mass incarceration, and we know about the labor, the manual, underpaid labor that happens in these carceral spaces. And for a parent to save up 6 months worth of pay and send it home to their children. And this was not just one child in an interview that said that this was more than a handful of individuals that attributed their success and their happiness to the love that their parents imparted on them from behind bars. They also talked about sharing a report card and holding onto their report card until visitation day so that they could share it not only with the incarcerated parent, but the entire visiting hall. Okay, let me just calm down a little bit. You guys are gonna get all of this passion as you navigate through this conference. As you can see, we are excited about being able to highlight success and resilience among children of incarcerated parents, centering Blackness unapologetically. And it definitely feels good to be able to hear and share these amazing stories around not only the successful child, but the successful and resilient incarcerated parent. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope that you all stay for our vigil at the end of day 3, which is going to be phenomenal, where we're going to share some of the photos that were shared with us during these interviews, which are absolutely phenomenal. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.